Ladies and gentlemen, we are here with Walter Mair. Mair, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
And he is the gentleman who composed the music for, or the score rather, for a film called Till Death. This stars Megan Fox. It's a woman left handcuffed to her dead husband as part of a sick revenge plot. Unable to unshackle, she has to survive as two killers arrive to finish her off. This film comes out available in theaters and on demand July 2nd. Walter Mair, how are you today, sir?
Super well. Thank you for asking, and thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, thank you for being here. And you did a wonderful job on the score for that film. It was some nice work. Um,
Thank
and
you.
yeah, you're welcome. And it was actually a lot of fun. It was that was a crazy movie. So I have a question. Like scoring a film to me is just such a fascinating,
Mhm.
process. Where does it begin?
I think the initial kind of point of contact is the spotting session, and before then even the script. So when I read the script before Christmas last year, I got a feel for what a crazy, amazing film this is going to be.
Mm,
And come Christmas, I got presented a rough assembly edit, like a first draft of an edit. And later in beginning of 2021, Scott and the producer sent me a very good edit. It was almost there. And, that's when we started spotting the film. Scott, director, and I would have a session together, discuss where music needs to go, what the music should convey. And, then you're back in your home studio, COVID. So I'm working from home at the moment, even though I have a studio in Soho, but, it's quite convenient to be here.
mm-hmm.
And then you sit there on your own, day by day, and you think about how do I write this music? What do you bring to the table? What's new? What's unique? What instruments could I build or make, or kind of what is the sound? And then maybe, hopefully, after a few days, a couple of weeks, you have a good idea of what it is. And in my case, I took, inspiration from the winter setting, the Scandinavian kind of looking American slash, winter landscape setting, frozen lakes and the likes. And I think, I got quite inspired by the visuals.
Mm-hmm. And what would you describe the sound for Till Death as? What's the overall tone and scope and mood for that score?
I think we have about two layers in there. One is a theme, like a thematic idea. There's a theme for Emma slash Megan Fox. She's got her own theme. And that's probably as positive and as, engaging an emotive theme it's going to be. And the rest is cold, sterile kind of soundscapes describing the cold and harsh winter temperatures. And then we have a throbbing kind of undercurrent underneath, this kind of propelling moment when the bad guys arrive and then everything goes, wrong.
Very wrong. Not just
Yeah,
gone
indeed.
wrong, but oh my God, wrong. Now you said that you had the concept for the script. You were given this concept to kind of
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, and toy around with some melodies or ideas. But when you were first reading the script, do you? I'm always forgive me, but I'm always fascinated on how the mind of a film score composer, creates or first begins to figure things out. Like when you're reading it, are you kind of hearing what you might, you know, uh, hear? Are you kind of picturing things? Well, I mean, hearing
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, totally. I mean, there's a few scenes in there um, when we are at the lake and I can see the post in the background and it's exactly that moment. And I could hear the cracking sound of the ice giving in. And I thought, how can I best describe that musically? And what instruments can I choose? And taking inspiration from that, I thought I have to bring something very unique to the score. So I found two instrument maker. One lives in Vienna. This is where I'm originally from, and his name is Thomas Merpseder, and he's a musician slash instrument builder. And this is what he does for a living. It's amazing because you describe to him something unique, like I want to have this propelling sound. I want to have this impending threat. I want to have all this in there in the sound. And he's like, okay, how would you describe it? And I would be like, well, it's like a double bass and it should have some engines, some motors. I want to be very drastic in the sound. And he would be like, okay, let me draw something up for you. And he sends me a blueprint. And I'm like, oh my God, this looks interesting. Let's have a bit of input. And out came this instrument that I call a contrahurdy, which is a mixture of a double bass and a hurdy-gurdy. And it's a Frankenstein of an instrument. It's got a massive double bass body, big strings, and on the other hand, it's got this Voltors, this engine, this kind of, you know, produces this kind of resonance on the strings. So it sounds like a constant,
Yeah.
very like a dark kind of brooding sound. And if you play that, and when I play it, I don't play it correctly because no one can play this instrument. It's a new thing. You just experiment. You take inspiration from that, and so there's something in the script that brings me to brief someone to help me, build this instrument, and then I take it to a different level, and this is where we ended up in.
You mean there was actually a brand new instrument built to
Yeah,
compose music for this
yeah.
movie?
That's not a hurdy-gurdy, has been around since the medieval times,
Well,
but
sure, sure.
and a double bass has been around for, I don't know, a long time. But that instrument, this particular instrument, has never seen the world before. It's a bespoke instrument just for the film, and I love those moments.
Wow. Okay, so here's a weird existential musical question. What's the difference between music and sound? Music and noise, rather.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you could say that noise also describes music because it's kind of, whatever waveform you have that, if you add it up, then it becomes kind of structured and then you enter the realm of music. But if you want to separate like sound design, noise kind of, and music, then I would say music has some sort of rhythm, some sort of harmony, and some sort of melody.
Mm-hmm.
And sound is just, it's noise, kind of rearranged noise. And that's inspiration I took again from the setting of the film. So the sound designer reached out to me and said, hey, I'm going to have a crew sent to Finland to record some ice and winter sounds. We need that for Foley and, atmospheres.
Right,
And I
right.
thought, hey, if I get hold of those sounds and we add a few different sounds, we do something very creative,
Mm-hmm.
I could use them. I could create sound design textures and soundscapes out of those natural sounds and turn it into music. And that's another layer. So when the guy flew out to Finland and he sent me the recordings, I'm like, okay, sounds very cool, but could we try something different? So you've got these frozen lakes. And if you throw a stone onto the surface of a frozen lake, it doesn't just do a plonk sound. It goes like,
Yeah, it has that like laser
yeah,
sound to it.
like Star Wars, like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Star Wars laser sound.
yeah.
And it's a quite cool sound. And we did a bunch of, not me, but, I asked the Foley artist to do a bunch of recordings and he sent them back to me to London. And then, I took them, I slowed it down by 600, 2000%. And out of this became a boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
And I used that as a synth, double bass, whatever thingy in the background of my compositions. And then you have those sound design elements combined with the music, and that kind of created the score.
It's just the whole process to me is just endlessly fascinating. It's just like the effort that goes into creating a score and the layers of meaning that are put into it are just, to me, brilliant. You weren't around during production, right? Because you said that you'd heard the idea, they went and they shot it, and then you saw a rough cut.
Yeah, yeah.
So you didn't get any set visits in, you didn't get nothing like that. Now, when you were creating and working with the director, were you given much freedom, or was he very just like, this is how it has to be, or what was that like?
I was super lucky in that respect. So Scott, the director, he was very open-minded. He had an idea of what the music could sound like. And then on the other hand, there was the editor, Sylvie Landra. Sylvie, she is an amazing editor. She did Leon the Professional, The Fifth Element. She's like one of
Mm,
the big star
really good
editors.
stuff.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
And she also brought to the table a few ideas of what the music could sound like. And, you take it in, you listen to it a few times, and then we all decided to forget it because we want to create something totally new and different. And that's when I came up with the idea of, custom make, build an instrument and a few other instruments. And both Sylvie and Scott loved the idea. And I think the producers and the music supervisor, we were all on the same page. We're like, hey, push it as far as we can sound wise, and let's see where we end up with.
Hmm. Yeah, that's it. It was again great work. So I was kind of going over your IMDb, and you've done a lot. You've done you've done TV, film, games. Do you have a favorite medium to work in, or one that you're kind of you have a lot of fun in?
I have to say, I like to keep it diverse just because I love working in games, which is very different to work in film and TV. And for me, it's more the genre that kind of defines who I am or how I want to be seen.
Hmm.
So anything like I worked on Grand Theft Auto and Call of Duty on the video game side, and on features and TV shows, it's always something that has a drama, a thriller element, maybe a bit of horror to it. So I think that's more my how to describe myself, rather than the medium. For me, it doesn't change a lot if it's a game, a TV show, or a film. It's the mindset and the sounds to come up with that I think is super inspiring to work in science fiction, thriller, and drama and horror.
Well, and that was my next question. I mean, if you're scoring for all these different mediums and there's really no differences, do you have a favorite genre? Do you have things that you love to gravitate to?
I tend towards the darker side just because I find
Good
it quite
man.
interesting.
Good man.
I mean, I have to say, I'm quite a positive, uplifting person myself. So there's something in there that I can, harness or get into, and then, you're in your own zone and you come up with
Sure.
these weird, dark soundscapes. But like yourself, we like horror films, but, we are quite chatty here and quite positive. So,
Yeah, horror
so
is catharsis, is what it is.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
definitely. Well, listen, I really appreciate your time coming on, talking to me about the film, the score process, inventing an instrument for this movie. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what everybody's reaction is because it was pretty fun. That movie was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I had so much fun working it, and thank you so much for having me. Yeah, excellent.
Absolutely. And everybody, this is Walter Mair again. He's the man who composed the music that you will be hearing until death, and that comes out in theaters and on demand July 2nd. Walter, it was a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks so much.
All
Pleasure
right,
talking to you.
take care.
Cheers, bye.